Hello and welcome to Telecomando RC. So on a previous video, if you watched it, I was talking about my Yokomo BD10, which is right here, and I was talking about weight distribution. In one of the videos, I talked about my specific setup. In another video, I talked about the possible weight setups if you use a shorty battery versus the long pack. Now in this video, I actually have some cool parts. These are the brass components right here. So the idea now is, let's just say you have a greater budget, so you don't have to add weight on a budget and you can spend a little more. As you can see, some of these parts can get quite expensive because of the machining work. Also, it's a hobby. This one here, picked up at somewhat local shop, I guess you could say. My local shop for $74. This one $17, and this one for $14. I'm obviously rounding the prices. So it's over $100 in brass parts. Don't tell my wife. She finds me on YouTube, I'm in trouble. All right, don't tell her I have a channel. Anyway, last time I also weighed my Yokomo with everything just to show that it does meet the weight requirement for, just laying that on top, for USGT, and I also showed how it meets the requirement for VTA just by swapping out the bodies, and I showed you how to do that. So I'm at $13.95. I'm actually over by 15. That's probably because of the duct tape I added, which is in another video. And this would be my VTA. So once I add my VTA, I'm 6 over. So I can actually lose 6 grams off of my current setup if I wish, which I may right now. I've actually run this setup before right now. Now I'm gonna remove the battery and I'm gonna remove the brace because I don't really need them for this. I'm just gonna weigh the car. And I'm gonna take down the weight of the car, so I'm at 1024. So 1024 grams. So I'm gonna be replacing some of these parts, and I'm also gonna be removing some of the weights. And I want to be at 1024, or if I'm minus 6, right, because I'm 6 grams over anyway, I can be down at 10. Just going to make a note. 10, I said 6, so 18 grams. So this is really my goal right here. That's where I want this to be. Once I add the rest of the weight, I mean, the rest of the stuff isn't changing. This is the only thing that's changing. So I can begin adding weights. Now, I'm not looking into removing these 4. I like those 4 there. It's really the 9 7-gram weights that are under the receiver box. Maybe I can flatten it out, have a lower center of gravity based on this. So one of the components that we're replacing is this one right here, which is actually the pricier one. I mean, it's a beautiful machined brass piece. And this one here replaces, it screws on right here in the center. And assuming you built the kit, then you already know how to assemble and disassemble this. So the motor will be coming out, spur will have to come out. So we're going to disassemble all of this. Now, I'm going to do all of this. I'm not going to show it. The assumption is you built your kit, you have the manual, you know how to remove those parts. But just in case, you just remove the bottom screws. Actually, first you remove this brace, so remove those 4, these 4, and these 4. Remove the brace. After that, remove those bottom screws, and everything comes out with the motor. You can actually remove the motor just by the screws here. Some screws down there by the spur just below. 1, 2. All right, and then we'll worry, pinion. I said spur, I meant pinion. And then we'll worry about the spur. But before I start doing the breakdown, I want to open this up and show you how much this piece weighs on its own. So this piece here, again, we're working with grams. On its own, this piece weighs 50 grams based on the scale. So 50 grams, that is one of the components. And before you start buying pieces, I will weigh the aluminum one that comes in the car, but I'm going to do an estimate first and show you. So the density of brass is 8,587 P. So it's kilograms per meters cubed. Aluminum is 2,705 P. So this is the ratio. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this number. Now I put brass on top. So if I was going from aluminum to brass, multiply by that. Multiply by that. If you're going the other way, divide. So since I'm going from brass to aluminum, I'm trying to estimate the aluminum piece. I'm going to take this and divide by 3. So 3.17. And it'll come out to about, so the aluminum piece, this is an estimation. Aluminum piece is probably going to be about 15.8. Let's round it to 16 grams. This is what I'm estimating, which means that this brass one should add about 34 grams. So hopefully it adds that 34. I'm looking forward to that mass gain. But at this point, let me go ahead and remove the aluminum, and then we'll be back. So a quick little break. All right, so the part is completely removed. Break is over. See, that was quick, just a few seconds. So here's the aluminum part, and before I weigh it, compared to the brass, I mean, the brass does feel significantly heavier. I also like the brass look versus the aluminum look on there. So it's like this goldish look versus silver. I mean, they're both pretty good. So again, the brass was 50 grams. And then per our calculation, we estimated that this would be about 16. And yeah, it's about 16. So long story short, if you're planning on adding weight, before you start spending a bunch of money, and it doesn't matter if you have a Yokomo X-ray, whatever, just take, if you can weigh, if you know the weight of your aluminum piece, just multiply it by 3.17, and that's going to give you an estimate for brass because of the difference in densities. Right? So if you think about it, density is volume. So these are going to take up the same amount of volume, the same amount of space. So because brass is denser, it's going to weigh more. Has more mass times acceleration, gravity, acceleration of gravity, that's your weight. So that's how you can figure out before you start spending money on things. But here, this is assuming you got an increase in budget, now you can buy these brass parts. So we have a gain of 34 grams just from this. So 34 grams just by swapping out the part. So at this point, let's just go ahead and swap out the part. So I'm going to go ahead and put the brass part on. Let's take a quick break. All right, so let's see. So here we go. The brass piece is installed completely. So as you can see, I mean, it fits right in. It's perfect, just like you would expect from Yokomo. So let's see. Okay, put it back. So now we are at 1031, which is this number we want to compare to. So 1031 grams, and I can actually lose 6 as I mentioned, so my final goal will actually be, well, that is my final goal. All right, that's where I am now. So you do have some other brass options. The other one, this one's very, very easy. This is just a little plate right here. According to this, it should be 6 grams. So I'm going to go and see if it is. So I'm going to weigh it. And it comes with this little double stick tape. So this is the tape that you're going to use to adhere the metal plate. So there's actually nothing here. So I will have to clean this out with alcohol. This plate, you see there's this little groove that is cut out right here. That's where the plate goes. So the plate sits right in here. And there are two grooves, one on each side, but you cannot put a plate on this other side because the motor's there. That's the reason why. They just, out of the factory, they cut them out just so it's even. That's the only reason why. But this little brass plate would just sit right in here using this piece here. Now, you have some options for gluing this, and one of them is you can set it directly on the carbon, assuming it's clean. I'm going to clean it out a little. You can also clean it and use a little CA glue and just put a little dab on it there just to fill in the carbon for durability, and then put the double stick tape on it and go from there. It adheres a little better. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and tape this up shortly. Let me just weigh it first. It's about 6 grams. All right, let's go ahead and install it. So I actually did put a little bit of CA glue right in there, and then I just used the plastic bag from one of those pieces. You clean it with a little bit of alcohol, and then you just kind of brush it so it's really even. The glue's even there because I want the weight to sit flush, and I find that tape sticks a lot better that way than directly on the carbon. I mean, if it had a gloss finish like this, it would stick on very well, but it doesn't. So I'm going to go ahead and mount it now. One quick note, you will notice that the tape that is provided is longer than the weight. So stick it on the weight first, trim it, and then put it on the car. And to trim, you can use scissors, or you can just grab a blade and then angle it like that, and then just kind of go across. So you don't take any of the brass out, and you can just do that and it'll just cut it right off. So now you'll notice the edges are precisely cut. And the backing should look something like that with the tape there. And then all you do is just grab the brass, place it here at the edge, at a corner, just like that, and drop it. And then press on, and that is it. Alright, let's see where this... Alright, so we are now at, okay, it keeps going back and forth between 37 and 38. We'll say 37. So we are now at 37. So that's our new mass. Perfect. Alright, now the next components that we have here, and really quick, I just realized, no wonder my car was light. This was bothering me, and I couldn't figure out, I didn't put the top brace. So let me actually put the top brace on, because that's going to add some mass. That's why these two numbers, if you look at the first two numbers, 24 to 34, they don't add up to the 34 grams that we should have gotten here from the difference, right? Here's the 34. We're actually short, and it's because we're missing that top brace with the screws. I just looked over and saw it. Anyway, I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to install it really quick and then take this mass once again. Alright, here we go. So the actual mass we're supposed to be using is 1050. Not this one. So if we add the 13 over here, this would have actually been 44, and that makes more sense. So we're now with 1050 grams. So 1050 grams, perfect. See, we've actually already passed our goal. So that being said, I'm going to take just some weight and once again just verify that I am good to go for USGT. Let's see how much I am over with, and now I can remove some of the other weights that I've installed. So I'm at 421, I need to be at 1380. So that being said, I'm going to start taking weight, and then I'm going to continue on with the last piece that we have here. And I've changed my mind. I'm actually going to install the last one, that way I know exactly how much I can remove. So this one here is supposed to be 20 grams. And this is a weight that goes in the center, close to the center of the chassis. Actually, what I like about this one is it goes just on the side of the battery, so it'll help stop the battery from trying to go into your spur. If you watched another video, I explained how I put a little piece of foam in there. So it says 19 grams. Let's see, what if I put the backing? I wonder if this will send it over. There's actually two pieces here of adhesive tape. Alright, it says 19. Well, oh. It says 19. Well, close enough for, well, this isn't government work, but close enough for now. So according to this, it says 19. According to the paper, it should be 20. It's probably 19.5, 19.6, something like that. So it rounds to 20. So we'll give Yokomo benefit of the doubt. So before we install these, we're going to do the same thing. We have to clean it up with alcohol and then clean the other side with alcohol. And this piece is meant to fit right in this section on the right hand section. Now if you install this piece, you need to install this first. If you're not going to use this piece of brass, then just install it, but this would sit right over it. And one of the things, notice that groove there. So that little channel that was cut out, that has to match this here. Right, so this is just going to go, oops, right in there, and then just, you're gonna have to line it up. So when you stick it, just be careful. The short side goes toward the end, the long side goes to the front. But that's where the piece is gonna go. So let's go ahead and install this real quick. And one little note, try to handle the tape on the adhesive side as little as possible. Notice I'm actually grabbing it from the edges, and I'm grabbing this by the edges. So I'm just gonna sit this on top, and then I'm gonna trim with the blade, just as I did the other one. And what I'm actually doing it is I'm dropping it just apart from the chassis, and I am lining it up. Now that it's lined up, I'm gonna go ahead and press on. All right. There we go. So our weight is on the car. And that adhesive tape is really good tape. I mean, I had some excess that I had to trim off, and that thing would just stick to my fingers. All right, once it's pressed on, again, don't do this when it's really, really cold. Do it at room temperature. For example, this room right now is room temperature. What temperature is the room? Room temperature. The room is always room temperature. All right, so here we go. 0, and we've installed all of our masses there, all of our weights, and we are at 1069. 1069 as our final, and we actually want to be down at 1018 ideally. So all we have to do is just see how much we have to remove, and then we can actually take the receiver box out and take out some of those weights. So all we have to do is just the 1018 minus the 1069. So really it's just 69 minus 18. So the amount that we have to remove is just 51. So 51 grams. Now, if you divide that by 7, well, 7 times 7 is 59. So we can remove 7, and we're going to be 2 grams over. But actually, 7, but we could lose 6. so I can actually get rid of 8. Let's see what works out based on what I have in here. Dun, 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 dun. So just before I go through and I remove these weights, again, you would, even though the setup was already good, it was tried, tested, I liked it. The reason why somebody would do this is, other than you have a larger budget now, it's a lot cleaner and the weight is lower. So notice this brass plate is right on the chassis limit right here. So the weight is lower. This one here, if you can see the difference in the height between this piece of brass and the other weights, I mean, you can see the edges of the other weights. So my center mass is going to be lower on the car. And that's the reason why I'm choosing to do that. Like I said, I'm still leaving these 4 weights there. Based on this, right, 7 times 7 is 49. I'm 2 grams over. But remember, I can take 6 grams off. So in reality, I can take 8 weights. I have 9 weights here. I'm just going to remove them all. And I'll probably end up putting one on top of the receiver or somewhere else. I'll figure out where I place it and then I'll let you know in a few seconds. Let's go ahead and take a short break. All right, and here we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and wait. Everything's on. I actually took out all the weights and I just set the receiver on top. Putting this on here, so that's 1013. I don't remember if I've been weighing this with the brace or not. I don't think I have. Let me take this off. So I am at 807. How about with the brace? Maybe I weighed it with the brace. But anyway, so that's my current mass right now. The important part is, do I meet US GT weight? So there's my battery, there's the car with the brace, so imagine the battery's in it with the brace, and here's my US GT body, and I'm at 1382. So I do meet the criteria. Now if I were to swap the wheels to vintage GT, I think they weigh a little more, but here's the body, and I'm short, just a tad, not a big deal. I can fix that up in a jiff. And I'm not surprised because I said I could remove up to 8 weights and I removed all 9 of them. So it's the 1 extra weight. So the question is, where do I want to place it? I can actually put it under the receiver and just stick the receiver. Or, no, that's too close. I can put it on top of the receiver. That would be the easiest thing to do. Well, let's take a quick break. And I found the perfect spot just below the fan, actually. So all I did was I removed the fan and I placed the weight in there. So the weight is actually toward the center, which ideally that's where you want the mass. You want the mass closer to the center as possible. Helps with steering. So even if you have the same amount of mass, but the mass is toward the outside, it's going to affect your steering in a negative way. I mean, just try running with, say, 20 pounds, 10 pounds, it doesn't matter, close to your body, and then take turns versus grabbing, say you were running with 10 pounds. Now make sure it's safe though if you try it. If you're a child, parental supervision. This is only for adults. Don't try this at home. So grab that 10 pounds of whatever, rice, whatever it is, hold it close to your body and then run and take turns. Now grab 5 on each hand, extend your arms outward as much as possible, and then try running and taking turns. You will notice a difference even though it's the same weight. So that being said, let's try it again. The battery, there's the tie, here's the car, so imagine the battery and the tie were on the car, and I should be over, but that's all right, as long as I'm not under, I still qualify, so 1389. 1389, and all of this just for VTA, and here we, it's close enough. Oh, there we go, 1450. It says 1450, I'm taking 1450. So there you have it. The Yokomo brass parts and weights are actually very high quality. I do recommend them if they're within your budget. Again, first videos that I made with all the weights were if you're on a budget just getting into the hobby, because buying all those weights that I had on here were probably less than $4, I don't remember, versus these three brass components were all just over $100. So that can either make or break the deal for you to get into USGT or VTA. But you know, after you've run these weights for a while and you're ready for something that's cleaner looking, much nicer, I'll tell you that, then you can go ahead and consider the Yokomo. And to be honest, the finish on the parts is superb. So I highly recommend those parts. Other than that, that is it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching Telecomando RC. I'll see you in the next video. Please like, subscribe, share. Be good. See you in the next one.